This video is going to open up with a somewhat terrifying premise, okay? I'm gonna need you to bear with me here though, because it's necessary for the sake of this topic. So, when Jujutsu Kaisen finally ends, I know, but I gave you a warning. I told you it was gonna shake you in your boots. But when this series finally comes to a close, we're all going to have to take a step back, reflect, reminisce, contemplate even, about how Yuta Okkotsu really was, but for present tense sake, is that guy. So much so that I can confidently say that there isn't another character that even comes close. Some may say that there are others that can contest that statement, with people like Gojo, maybe even Sukuna or Yuji, but when you look at the stats, and you take into consideration just how vital Yuta has been ever since he was first introduced in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, and then reintroduced at the end of Shibuya, this guy has put the team on his back every single time. Always dishing it out against the strongest of opponents, and now he's facing the literal strongest in the series, Sukuna. And he ain't doing half bad. But before we get to that specific point in time in the story, the clock must be rewound, and we must start at the beginning. Before that happens though, make sure you leave a like for more JJK content. You guys are seemingly really liking these videos, and I really enjoy making them, so it's a match made in heaven. Now back to the topic at hand. So, like I said before, Yuta was introduced all the way back in JJK 0, a film that I recently learned was made in 4 months. Which is, actually insane considering its quality. Regardless though, throughout Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and mainly at the end, this feature-length film gave us a small glimpse of his true potential. Whether it was just walking into his first class ever of Jujutsu High and leaving everyone entirely shook off of just his aura alone, or his expertly executed team-up with Inumaki against a cursed spirit, or the fact that he went toe-to-toe with Suguru Geto, who was at that time, I believe, #2 in the Jujutsu world, and utterly annihilated him with just a couple months of training. I mean, he was getting hit with all types of combo moves, a nasty black flash, the beat dropped on that one, and then a beam to end all beams. He showed him pure love. It really was such a great showcasing of just a glance at what Yuta is capable of, not just in terms of raw power, but also his CT. And when I tell you this movie gives you a very small glimpse, glance, peep, or whatever, I mean it. The movie doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of just how unbelievably broken that ability is. It's only in his battle against Sukuna do we see that power on full display, and it makes you wonder how quickly this story would have been wrapped up if Yuta came back into the picture sooner. Coulda, shoulda, woulda aside though, when Yuta finally does re-enter the story, he is so powerful that on his mission to kill Yuji, Yuji mistakes the initial power he senses from his executioner as Gojo himself. Which is wild, cause he knew that at that time, Gojo was trapped in Prison Realm, but the power exuding from Yuta was so incredible that it made him believe that his sensei somehow came back from eternal imprisonment. Unfortunately for Yuji, it wasn't Gojo, and the two of them proceed to duke it out for a bit, and almost immediately you can tell just how much Yuta is holding back in their exchange. Because not only does his expression stay basically the same throughout, but in the end, after almost splitting Yuji in half, Rika appears, grabbing hold of Itadori, completely immobilizing him, which allows Yuta to just walk up and stab the man right through the heart, ending it right then and there. Now, what needs to be understood here is that this is post-Shibuya Itadori Yuji. Choso even makes a comment before Yuta arrives about how much Itadori has improved since the events of Shibuya. So this version of him should be able to dust people like Mahito, Todo, etc. But in spite of that fact, in spite of how powerful he should be, Yuta was able to dispatch of him with relative ease, and his display was so impressive that there was a belief presented by the MC himself that Yuta could possibly defeat the King of Curses. Now, whether that's actually true is unclear. Maybe if Yuta could open up his domain before Sukuna, there's a chance, but who's to say that Sukuna's malevolent shrine wouldn't just straight up overpower his? There's a lot of variables to take into consideration, but if we did see that fight, it would have been an interesting one to say the very least. But speaking of interesting fights, it's about time to move on to the culling games, where Yuta again proceeds to just do what he does best. And this arc is really where he starts to cement himself as the undisputed best of the best in Jujutsu Kaisen. Because in the culling games, he alone managed to accomplish more than literally every single other player. The man cleared out an entire colony by himself, then entered into one of the greatest battles the series has ever had, a 1v1v1v1. A four-way bout that ends in Yuta systematically defeating every last one of them in spectacular fashion. The cockroach, for starters, got his head blown up twice. The first time was a little ayo. But Yuta's not really the type to take a lot of pride into account when it comes to fighting because he doesn't really have any interest in that. He's damn near the opposite of someone like Kashimo. Yuta is there to get the job done and move on, so I guess kissing a cockroach falls in line with that mindset. But then there's Yuro, who in all fairness wasn't necessarily taken down by Yuta in a physical sense. That success goes to Fujiwara. But from a mental standpoint, the reverse is true, because all throughout their fight, Yuta was hitting her with nothing but straight facts about life, and in the end, made her sort of do a 180 on her beliefs, so that counts as a win too. And lastly, speaking of Fujiwara, he was probably the opponent that gave Yuta the most difficulty, not only because he joined in late after Yuta had already started battling the Roach and Uro. In addition to that, Fuji's technique and overall battle prowess is not something to be scoffed at. Well, unless, yeah. But I mean, he was able to go toe-to-toe with Rika for a bit, and even managed to put her down once the 5 minutes of her being at full power was up. But he eventually lost due to a lack of situational awareness and expert usage of a copy technique, or in layman's terms, he got outplayed. Now, once that's all said and done, it actually takes a little bit of a while before we see the main man in action again. But when we do see him make his return, he does it by chopping off the head of Kenjaku. Yuta was waiting in the bushes for the perfect moment to strike, and once he saw that opportunity arise, he did not hesitate. Takaba was unfortunately sacrificed for this moment to occur, but the real loss here is Kenjaku not immediately dying by having his head cut off. No, apparently he needed to be stabbed in the brain for the job to be finished. But by the time Yuta managed to do it, it was already too late. Kenjaku passed off the authority to activate the merger over to Megami/Sukuna. So now, for that to be prevented, Sukuna must be stopped, which already needed to happen, but now there's more of a reason to do so, I guess. This revelation, however, causes Yuta to swiftly make his way over to the battle taking place against Sukuna. And thank God he made it when he did as well, cause things were not looking good. And to be completely fair, even after Yuta joined in on the fight, things still aren't looking any less gloomy. Have some very decent hits been landed that actually made Sukuna flinch? Yes. Have we finally gotten to see Yuta's domain expansion and learned that he's copied hundreds of abilities from across the globe that he can use for a surefire hit? Absolutely. Have we finally gotten to see one of Sukuna's techniques used against him thanks to Yuta's copying abilities? For sure. Has Yuji been able to connect some hits because of the domain expansion, allowing him to use his ability to free Megami's soul happen? Yes! But ultimately, that's still Sukuna they're fighting against. He's got the power of Gege on his side, and that's more powerful than any copy ability or curse technique. Which is why Yuta, Rika, and Yuji all got hit with a world-cutting slash. But Sukuna is in a weakened state, so that's not going to kill all three of those characters. Plus, we did see Maki finally enter onto the battlefield, and she herself landed a hit on Sukuna as well. So could this potentially be the turning point for the series, for Jujutsu High? If it is, who better to have caused the turning point than the main man himself? That guy, the undisputed GOAT of JJK, Yuta Okkotsu. He has put up generational numbers and currently has not just the highest amount of wins in the entire series that's been recorded, but also the longest winning streak in the entire series as well. He's just a man cut from a different cloth. But with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this one. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with the notifications on. And while you're down there doing all that stuff, specifically while you're typing up a comment, let me know if you agree with my stance on Yuta of him being the MVP of JJK. If you do, you've seen the truth. If not, who's your pick for the top spot? Let me know and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody!